First of all, I just saw that you had cancer and beat it with fenbendazole, and it's
I
interesting
did.
because I've me and a couple of people, Kate Awakening, some people in We the Media, IET, and SSGQ, they've been talking about this protocol that they use for parasites, and that's one of the
Right.
things that I took for a while. I'm curious, like, what got you onto that? Like, can you give a little background on that story?
Yeah, sure. It was kind of a wild story. I mean, it happened, let's see. So I was diagnosed. I started having some issues and couldn't quite figure out what was wrong, and finally was diagnosed in the summer of 2019. Instead of taking sort of a traditional path, which is my way, I decided, you know what, I got to go connect with God. And so I went to Spain and walked 500 miles on the Camino de Santiago. Came home and was sick as a dog. I shouldn't have gone, but I did. And and I came back and started going through all the treatments. They gave me the drugs, they gave me the radiation. I went through surgery, and it just wasn't going away. And by now and I did it all during COVID, right? So I mean,
Wow.
when I first started the treatment, you'd go in, the waiting rooms would be completely full, and when the whole COVID thing blew up, it's like you walk in, it's like nobody in the hospital. It's like, well, what happened, right?
Yeah.
Did COVID cure cancer? That's what I used to tell people. And so anyway, I went through all of that and couldn't quite get it behind me, and just kept having trouble after trouble after trouble, and they kept detecting new things, and it had metastasized a little bit, was moving around some different locations, and um, and they did a biopsy in May of 2021, and it had spread to my kidneys, and so I was like, oh man, this isn't good,
Mm.
and and just happened to run into a lady that's a surgeon friend of mine. She wasn't my treating physician or anything. And I was telling her what was happening. She's like, man, I can't prescribe this to you. I can't even tell you to do this. Just go look at this website. And I started reading all this stuff about all these people that had been cured, had their cancer cured with this stuff. And like less than a day later, John, I was in, man. I ordered my stuff and I got it and started taking it. And then I kind of learned there were some other things you needed to do. Like I had already been doing intermittent fasting and stuff like that because I had read that was something, if you starve your body and keto. And so if you starve your body of carbs, that's supposed to help cancer. And so I was already doing some of those things. Um, and I started taking that stuff in I want to say it was like the second week of May of 2021, and I was supposed to go back in for some follow-up stuff. They wanted to do another biopsy. They wanted to see how fast this thing was moving, and then they were going to make some decisions in August, late August, on what we were going to do. I was expecting surgery or whatever. So I'm taking this stuff, following the protocol that I read online, taking my zinc and taking my vitamin C and doing my intermittent fasting and doing all this stuff. But cycling in and out of the fenbendazole, and I mean, it still gives me kind of chills to think about. So I walked into my doctor's office in Houston, Texas, and they treat you in like teams there. So I had like five people on your team. You'd have like a nurse and your main doctor and the oncology guys and the radiology guys and all of that. And I walk in and everybody's in the room. First time I'd ever see them all in the same place at the same time. And man, I mean, I immediately started thinking the worst. I'm like, oh, this is bad. Okay, guys, I'm not even gonna sit down. Just tell me what the deal is. And they had the results of the most recent biopsy and a whole bunch of blood work and some scans and some other stuff. And my main guy stood up and just almost tears in his eyes and said, "You have no evidence of disease in your body." I'm like,
Wow.
what? I mean, I couldn't even understand it. I thought, what? Because I was fully prepared to say, all right, let's go. Another round of
Yeah.
surgery, whatever else you got to do. Let's do it. And it was just amazing. And I told this story on LinkedIn back when I was still on LinkedIn, and a lot of people, not a lot, but a few people kind of picked up on it. And last night I was we were hung up in Chicago, and I was sitting on this plane and talking to this guy next to me who had cancer, and he was kind of telling me, everything. And and it just dawned on me, I haven't been talking about this lately. And
Yeah.
so I kind of put it up on Truth Social, and man, it lit up last night. I mean, people were writing in, and everything from prayer to telling their own stories. There are folks on, there are people on Truth that were, like,
Hmm.
real experts in this, that were able to explain to them, you've got to have zinc, and you've got to have vitamin C, and you've got to have all these things, and here's why, and where do you get it, and what do you do? And I mean, I'm no expert by any stretch. Um, but I am living proof that and the power of prayer works. I prayed every single
Absolutely.
day. Actually, that's the other thing that started this whole thing. Is I had this. I used the U Version Bible app on my phone because it's just convenient. I can read it every day, and it keeps track of your days in a row. And what even how I even started this was by saying, for 1,000 days or 1,000 and I don't know, whatever it is, 1,040 days in a row, almost 3 years, I've been reading this Bible, this thing every single day. So prayer has been an important part of all of this, no doubt. And
Absolutely.
I have no doubt that the healing, that's where it actually came from. But the randomness of a friend who happened to be a doctor knowing about this, seeing me after I had just gotten
Yeah.
some, pretty crappy news. Man, it was amazing. Anyway, too long of a story to tell in the show, so I hope I
No,
didn't bore everybody.
that's powerful. I think it's important. I mean, and more people should look into that stuff. If you know people with cancer, I've seen so many stories, but yeah, and we are all praying for you and your continued health, and especially with everything
Well,
moving
thanks,
forward
John.
with the election stuff. But
Well, I
um,
appreciate that, man. It made my
next,
beard come out different though. When I grew my beard back after I was sick, my beard's like what it is now. So maybe that's what it was all about.
yeah, I don't think you can ever shave that thing now. Everybody's just
I
in love
know
with your
it's
beard. It's got its own True
it,
Social account.
it's actually a problem, I think. So anyway.